Do you guys like Kobayashi Dragon Maid? Do you guys like Dragon Maid from Yu-Gi-Oh? Or do you even like the Dragon Girls archetype from Recross? Well, what if I'm able to tell you, we have an archetype that has a heavy focus on Dragon Girls.
Stop it. Get some help.
That is pretty much what Raiz Blaz is about, but I unfortunately have to say, I can't recommend it right now. Especially not when one of the most important cards in this deck costs this much.
No.
And you have to run this specifically. Why exactly is that? That is exactly what I'm gonna be talking about today. And I will say this first lah. What a waste of armpit, man. Anyway, before we go into the more important part of the deck, which is the support, we have to discuss and understand what the Rideline actually tried to do. And do note, all of this Rideline is not Dragoroid at the moment, as we can start off with the grade 1 of the Rideline, Raiz Blaz Current. This unit has only one skill where when rolled upon by Raiz Blaz Tarantella, if you so has a Raiz Blaz Polka, you look at the top 5 card of your deck, choose up to one Dragoroid without Sentinel or normal order from among them, review it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Even with just a grade 1 skill, you can kind of see the direction the deck is trying to go for, as the deck essentially focusing on Dragoroid Regards and Orders. Sound familiar?
No.
Well, yes, because this is essentially a Rideline that designed specifically to play with Streja.
No, God!
Yes, that's Streja, and that's why I say it's not exactly worth to buy it at the moment, because this is the reason why the price has been inflating like GameStop stock back in like what, 2020? I mean, I don't have to say much about this particular unit skill. It's a straight up search for your missing piece in your deck, which is really nice, though I wish the search radius is a little bit more wider, but it's not a big problem. You will see why. As before that, we have to go to Italy to talk about Raiz Blaz Tarantella first. Yes, Tarantella is actually something in real life, where this has 2 skills. The first skill is a constant that make all of your Dragoroid triggers get additional 5k if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, and when this name is rolled upon by grade 3 Raiz Blaz in its name, you can choose up to one Dragoroid without Sentinel or a normal order from your drop and put it into your hand. The second skill is pretty straightforward. I mean, if you use Streja last turn, this will heavily benefit you, but I would like you guys to pay more attention to the first skill, because it's essentially turning all of the Dragoroid triggers into a 20k shield. And for those who don't know, there is currently a full playset of Dragoroid triggers for all types of triggers, except for over triggers if I remember correctly. It's a way to give benefit to players, or at least in this case to a Raiz Blaz player who are forced to go second, because this means that their shield actually has more value, meaning that if you're up against opponent with a higher grade, this allows you to essentially tank it a little bit better, because that 5k make a whole lot of difference in a modern Vanguard standard, especially in that earlier part of the game. So very good skill to have, and I'm glad this stays into the grade 3 of the deck, Raiz Blaz Folia. This unit has 3 skills where it have a similar constant as Tarantella, but instead of just plussing shield 5k, all of your triggers also get additional 5k power during your turn as well, and then act once per turn, cost energy blast 3, look at top 7 card of your deck, choose up to one Dragoroid without Sentinel or normal order from among them, review it and put it into your hand, choose one of your opponent rear card with the same grade as the review card and retire it, shuffle your deck, and then when this is an attack, counter blast 1, choose all of your front row Dragoroid rear cards and stand them. If your opponent is grade 3 or greater, you can also stand all of your back row Dragoroid record as well. Okay, this unit itself I don't think is terrible or great, it's just good. Defensively, it is really helpful because it still turns all the Dragoroid trigger into 20k shield, and now it also makes Dragoroid triggers a lot more threatening by giving it additional trigger effect by 5k as well. And she does come with a few more benefit on her own. I mean, a return filter is always a nice thing to have, and this is the right amount of range for me to hit all the target needed. And of course, the fact that it's fetched for normal order is really helpful as well, and you also don't have to be too worried about any heavy energy cost, because one of the generic that is gonna be releasing in the upcoming booster, Winter Life Check It, give you additional energy charge and also counter charge, which will come in really relevant with this particular deck due to Raiz Blaz ability to withstand pretty much all Dragoroid regards on your field as well. So I think the boss unit is pretty solid, but due to the interaction with certain cards in the first batch of support that we have received for Raiz Blaz, that is where I am a little bit concerned.
That escalated quickly.
as you can see with these two particular cards. Starting off with Bright Side Liliosa. This unit has 2 skill where when this unit attack and your back row has 3 Raiz Dragoroid, you may have this unit plus 5k until end of turn. If you do, at the end of turn, you retire this unit and draw a card. And then if you have a Raiz Blaz Vanguard, you get 5k shield as well. Considering this being a basic 18k attacker that give you draw at the end of turn is not a bad thing, but you look at the condition. If your back row has 3 Raiz Dragoroid, this is where I am a little concerned with the support, because this means that you might not be able to take full advantage of all of the booster in the back row in general. As you can see with the other support that we got, Enthusiastic Serving Diletta. This unit has 2 skill where if you have a Greater Folia in its name, you can counter blast 1, so blast 1 and call this card to Regard Circle. This is not once per turn, nor this is locked by having just one of it on the field. And then auto on back row center Regard Circle, at the beginning of your battle phase, raise 3 Dragoroid in the back row, choose one of your Vanguard with Folia in its name, and it gets, of your front row unit gets plus 5k, and if your opponent is Greater or Greater, they get 10k instead of 5 until end of turn. And of course at the end of turn, you put this into soul, and if your opponent is Greater or Greater, draw a card. As much as being able to get 1 Dragoroid back on demand is really nice, it's the second skill that does feels a little iffy for me, purely because of the fact that you are resting all your back rows for the first 3 attack including your Vanguard. That is where I am not exactly a biggest fan of this card skill, because yes, getting 10k is good, but needing to raid specifically 3 back row Dragonoid for it, nah man. And yes, we do have cards that take advantage of it, but I feel it is not worth resting 3 Dragoroid as of now, because all the Raiz Blaz support in general as a time of recording doesn't hit that hard at all, even with that 10k. But I can see where they're going with this, and this is in my opinion the biggest flaw of this deck, and that is the fact that they are expecting you to abuse Streja's skill.
Genuinely disgusting.
Yes, Streja's power maintained for every single time she attacks, and she does hit a really high number, but if you don't have enough counterblast to restand her to begin with, in case of you cannot play the order, it became useless completely. The first wave of the support is the most important wave of any deck in general. If you fuck up the first wave, the subsequent one may fix it if Burisho decided to do so, but that is like 5% of the time, so I'm not happy with this.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Fortunately enough, the few more cards I want to talk about with the first wave support of Raiz Blaz is not as controversial as the first 2 cards I talk about, as we have Result of Late Night Work 4. This unit has 2 skill where when placed on Vanguard from hand, if your Vanguard is Raiz Blaz, you can look at top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 normal order from among them, review it, and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. If you reveal, shoot a card from your hand and put it into your soul. And then when this unit attack, if you have Greater or Greater Vanguard with Raiz Blaz, this unit get 5k until end of turn. Not a bad card at all. I mean, this is just the grade 1 skill in the form of a rear card. Nothing too crazy, but the fact that you can filter your deck a bit more often is nice to see. And last card is minimum 3 Adbrera, where when discarded from hand during right phase, if you have Raiz Blaz Vanguard, you may call it to regard as Raiz, and if your Vanguard is Greater or Greater, you can call it as Stand instead. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it is a budget version of this card cycler that we have been seeing almost every really cool deck getting lately, and it does do a good job if you're going first, because it allows you to use it as fodder. Diletta later on is still alright. I mean, it forces your hand to not be wasted as much as you think it is. And here comes the time where some people might like it, some people might not like it, and that is me listing pro and cons of the Raiz Blaz, at least by the first wave. The deck does have a good number of benefits though. Additional chill to triggers and additional power is really nice. It forces the opponent to rewire their mat a little bit, and that also does translate to a possible change in the total number of cards they are guarding as well. And then the deck has very strong filter. Like, I think this is one of the most powerful filter I have seen in a long while in Rideline in general, so I have to give the credit where it's due. Especially, it also abused one of the best cards in the Rideline generic lineup, Streja, to a great height. I think it is not coincident they make this particular deck Dragoroid focus and also order focus at the same time. But that is also, in my opinion, one of the biggest flaw in the deck right now. The deck is way too expensive for what it provided, because it's very similar to Megas in V era. You have to hit trigger to hit hard. Yes, Diletta does make the attack hit harder, but it doesn't hit hard enough in the modern standard, especially considering how poor the resource regeneration this deck can have without Streja in general, which is why I say it's not exactly worth buying almost $300 to play this deck, because making Streja being a core is a demerit in itself, because this costs secondary or tertiary market market to inflate like no tomorrow, which for those who just innocently just want to play the deck might be almost impossible to do so. And that's kind of sad because I feel like this deck does have a lot of charm to it, especially that LSR, you know. And that's Raiz Blaz has a good base of a Rideline, awkward first wave of support, and unfortunately only there for really cold sim. But what do you guys think? And yeah, that's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, don't forget to clap that sub and become a member for some cool perks. This is Mac Bacon signing out.